Hey guys, Jeremy here at My Way MFG. This is a video everybody's been waiting for, I think. We pretty well finished the trunk. I get the lid back on, I get it working, I get the seal on. I always say almost finished because it's never quite done, it seems. But I want to say I really enjoyed doing this project. The whole thing with the trunk was an interesting project, and it's right up my alley. That trunk lid, I really like taking something like that that's just not even really fixable or usable and just making it good, you know. And I really have to say I enjoyed that. Some of the stuff like, you know, painting on the POR 15 or sewing seat covers, that's not too much fun, but this was. So anyway, guys, enjoy the video. Watch it to the end, and it turned out good. Thanks, guys. Came out here this morning. I was going to try to get this broken bolt out. I cleaned all this off a little bit. It's not as rusty as I thought. I'm wondering if I can just weld all these cracks up in these pinholes. Maybe not have to do much else there. I should probably weld that now before I start torquing on that, you know. I've been working, getting this broken bolt out of here. You could look at it and tell it was really seized. Anyway, I welded all the cracks up around there because I knew I was going to be torquing on it and I didn't want to rip that captive nut out of there. I welded those up, welded a nut to the broken bolt. The nut broke off where my weld was. A lot of times if you can weld a washer on there first, you can get the washer welded on better because your nut keeps wanting to fill up with weld as you're trying to do it. So I welded a washer on there all the way around, had it stuck on there really good, then welded a nut to that. I really torqued it. If it was going to come, it would have came, but it broke. So none of that was working. I ground it off flat, took an 1/8 inch drill bit, drilled clear down through the center of the bolt. And then after that, I took a left-hand drill bit with the drill in reverse. It was about a 1/4 inch drill bit, drilled all the way through. A lot of times doing that with a left-hand drill bit, the reverse rotation will pull the bolt out with it as you're going. That didn't work either. So then I took a 5/16 drill bit, which is the same size as my hole, and I went down clear through it. So now I just got to run a tap through there and get some new threads, and I should be okay. This inner structure was cracked around to the back here. And I noticed there was a big hump here where it was cracked. And I'm wondering if that wasn't interfering with that rubber seal when I put this lid on the first time, because it was pulled out probably a 1/4 inch. I beat that back in place and I'm just getting ready to weld it. And we got a pretty good straight edge here now. So there shouldn't be any interference with anything. It ought to be back to pretty much the factory location, I'm thinking. I'm going to finish welding this up real quick. I don't have any taps here. I'm going to have to get one of them. Anyway, yeah, quite a time getting that out. It was really in there. This is the other bolt that was broke off where the trunk prop rod mount goes. I had to drill that one out too, so we're going to have to chase the threads on that one and that one. This piece here where these stress cracks were, I've got it beat back down on one side. I've drilled a hole at the end of each crack. I'm going to weld them back shut. I've heard that that'll keep a crack from spreading by doing that. So we'll get one side welded up and then we'll do the other. Kind of messing around over here today trying to tie up loose ends, and this keyhole cover on this, it's supposed to have a spring behind it that holds tension on it. This is just flapping around on here. It's got a pin that goes through it. There's a little bitty collar. It's just a pressed fit over that pin. I had just a slight bit of the old spring left, and it's the same diameter as a spring out of an ink pen. I'm going to try to put that on there. If I can pull this off, I might just put a drop of super glue on it to hold it, you know. I was trying to use the spring out of an ink pen, and so far I've lost 2 of them. I don't have any more ink pens over here to take apart. So I'm going to take this home with me where I've got an abundance of them. Try again. I got this old bezel off. I got the inner structure out of it that holds the license plate light. 2 studs in there. I was able to double nut them, get them to turn out of this one. So this is all ready to put back on. I got to pay extra close attention when I do this. I've heard of people buying these aftermarket bezels and getting locked out of their trunk. It happened to my buddy Richard that watches the channel, and I've read a thread about it on the old Ford Barn or Ham or somewhere. But Richard was saying what happens here, they've got an internal stop in there that the handle turns against and stops, and they've got it positioned in there or formed in there in such a way that you don't get enough rotation out of your handle to lift your latch mechanism all the way. So there's guys that put these on that have their car completely done, interior all done, slam their trunk and they can't get it back open, and the only way to get back in there is to go through the rear seat and take a pry bar and try to... Richard said if he'd have had his spare tire mounted in there when that happened, he doesn't know if he could have got it. And I read a thread about another guy that had a real nice custom interior that wasn't just going to immediately come out, and happened to him too. I don't have any of that, so I could probably get in there, but seeing as how I know about it, we'll be checking that before we ever shut the trunk lid. You know, underside of the flat trunk skin, I just sprayed the hell out of it with that Rust-Oleum Rust Performer primer, and I just held it up and just let it run in all 4 directions back in underneath the structure. I just put it in there as wet as I could, just so it just kind of soak everything. So we got that drying right now, and I've been scraping the rest of the glue and sanding on this lip so we can try that rubber seal again here soon. Just kind of working on loose ends today. This piece of metal I was gluing that rubber to, I just sprayed a little paint on it. I'm going to see how well that sticks to a painted surface. We're going to do one more test with that, and if it turns out it sticks good to the paint but not the primer, you know, like I did before, I'll just get me something and put a little paint, mask it off, put a little paint around that edge if I think that's the thing to do. But we'll do another test here first on that and see how that goes. But I think for right now, I'm just going to take this home with me and see if I can get a spring back in there. Yeah, I got this flappy thing back on there. Got a spring back under it. You know, pieces like this are pretty rough shape, but you know, at least it's not going to be hanging upside down anymore. You know, anyway, got that kind of fixed. Now it doesn't look too bad, but I don't know. What if I was to paint that car, say, pearl white, like I did the interior? You know, as Lewis said about that paint, it looks like vanilla ice cream, you know. You couldn't put something that looked like that up against it, then it'd stand out. It'd look like be about the same effect as having a turd floating in a punch bowl, you know. It's just unacceptable. Anyway, for now, I'm going to use this. You know, it's working. This hole here, I was able to retap it to 5/16. Got it back the way it's supposed to be. This one here was supposed to be 1/4 inch. I'd gotten it too big, so I had to put 5/16 there also. So we'll just have 2 different size bolts there, but it's gonna work okay. This is all in primer. There's a few spots on here that don't look so good. I'm gonna hit it with a little bit of glazing putty just to make it look a little better. And I bought some green Duplicolor top coat paint. For a long time now, I've wondered how I was gonna, what I was gonna do to finish these repairs off as I'm going with the car. I'm not gonna paint the car right away, and I didn't want to disturb the outside appearance of it too much until the time come when I was ready to paint it. But that being said, there's things I've got to do to it that do disturb the outside appearance. Like that roll pan, had to make another one, you know, wasn't any way to save the one that was on it. And that's all gonna show. I don't want to run around with just gray primer on there, or any kind of primer for that matter. I want to try to make it kind of blend in with the rest of the car, and then do the same with all the repairs, so that when I do decide to paint the car, if I do, all that stuff will be kind of done, finished off. I can just scuff everything down and paint it. You know, probably spray some heavy blocking primer on there over everything, and then just paint it. But how do you match this? You know, it's basically rust, but you do have these areas of paint showing. So we got bluish green paint here, and then underneath of it we've got black primer. But I notice up here we've got red primer underneath, and on the fenders it's black primer. I don't know if that's the way they did it, or if the fenders have been repainted at some time, or who knows, you know. So like that roll pan area and the lip, it's going to show on the front of this trunk after I put it back on. There's going to be a little body work on the outside. I want something that'll kind of blend in with this black and green, you know. I can't really duplicate the rust too much, but at least I could get it black and green. So I went to town today. Duplicolor paint is compatible with automotive paint. You got to be careful using like Rust-Oleum. It's not compatible. Sometimes if it's cured out all the way, you can get by with spraying automotive paint over the top of it. Usually not. It usually wants to blister up, or you might have it to where it lays down good on the whole surface except for one little corner or something. And no matter what you do, you can't get it to quit blistering. So then you got to take everything back down. So I try to avoid using much Rust-Oleum stuff. The only Rust-Oleum stuff I've got here is that Rust Performer Rust-Oleum primer that I've basically been using like for an undercoat, you know. But Duplicolor works. So this is Duplicolor. It's a bluish green color. I'm not gonna be able to buy anything that matches perfect off the shelf. I could have it mixed, but it's not gonna be permanent, at least in my mind it's not. So I don't wanna buy this color paint, you know, have it mixed or whatever. But I think this is as close as I can come up with. So what I did, I sprayed it on this piece of metal for a sample, and it was really bright. So I scuffed it up with a Scotch-Brite pad. Then I found some of the original green paint. It was really dull. And I polished it up with a little bit of rubbing compound. So let me get you in closer. There's what our original color looks like. I got a little bit of a polish on it right there in the center. Here's what our piece of new paint looks like. It's not perfect. It's just a little bright. If this was thicker, it's awful thin. If it was thicker paint, it'd probably match better. But I think that's as good as we're gonna do, just buying something off the shelf, just so we can get our repairs covered up. So my idea being, this whole roll pan area, we'll get a little bit of body work done to it, painted with black primer, and then just have some of this paint misted over there real thin as I can get it. Hit it with a Scotch-Brite pad so it dulls it out, and then maybe put like some satin clear over there, something that's not real shiny. Maybe give us kind of the same sheen as our linseed oil will do for the rest of the car, so we can get the repairs painted, protected, and then it just kind of blend in, you know. And then as we go along and we fix stuff like this, them dents, we'll just keep doing that. And we'll just have more of this black primer and this color paint on the car right up until the end, you know. And I think that's going to keep it looking as good as we possibly can get it. You can see the shine on there from the linseed oil. I think that would be pretty comparable to like a satin clear. So anyway, those are my plans for, you know, just getting all these repairs covered up with something, you know. And then we got a plan to keep going like that then. Trunk lid, I've put a little glazing compound in some spots where I thought had little divots and stuff in the body filler, you know, I could get it looking a little bit better, seeing as how we've went this far with it. This will be our first thing we do with this paint. We're gonna sand this back out one more time. We're gonna hit it with the black primer. We're gonna dust this paint over it as thin as possible. See what it looks like, because you know, where better to do your test in the underside of a trunk lid, right? So anyway, hopefully we'll see how that turns out here by the end of the video. Okay, back onto gluing our trunk seal on. Got weather stripping glued to paint, or rubber glued to paint with weather strip adhesive. We've got rubber glued to paint with super glue. That pulled off real easy. That was the weather strip adhesive. Yeah, I ripped the rubber. Super glue works real good on a painted surface. So now that we know that, I've got all the weather strip adhesive cleaned back off of this. I'm gonna mask this lip off one more time, and I've got some Duplicolor clear. I'm just gonna go over it with that. I think that would be the less invasive of all the stuff I could use. And I might miss a little bit of this green in there. Oh, hey, I hadn't showed you guys this. We did get the underneath of the trunk lid painted with the green. I misted it on there real thin over that black primer, and it's really dark. It's really dark doing it that way. If I'd have shot that over like a gray primer, it would have been much lighter. But I don't want to use gray primer. I think I'm gonna walk away from this for now, and then like tomorrow morning, I'll come out here and scuff that up with a Scotch-Brite pad and see what that looks like, because that's basically what I wanted to do to the roll pan, right? And that's gonna make that awful dark. But we'll just keep doing a little bit of experimenting here and see what we want to do. But we'll scuff that up in the morning, and maybe it'll change everything. I don't know. Or maybe if you completely painted it, you know, and covered it with a few coats, maybe it would lighten up, because then you wouldn't have the black primer showing through. But that's really not what I want to do. I just kind of wanted it misted on there. But anyway, I think tomorrow we'll readdress this, see what we come up with. And we're gonna glue that damn weather strip on there one more time. And I do think the super glue will work good. I had bought this Apple fantastic glazing compound today when I was at the store. was thinking it'd be easier than using Bondo to fill in all those little scratches and trouble areas. It's the same brand as the Bondo I'm using, you know. But what I noticed was I didn't really like it. For being a glazing compound, it seemed to me it sanded harder than the Bondo does. I think I could have put the Bondo on there and sanded it out quicker. So yeah, I'm not real happy with this stuff. It just sands really hard. But I got a full tube of it. I could always use it for frame repairs, you know. But anyway, yeah, it wasn't that bad. Just wasn't as easy as I thought it should be. Anyway, we'll get back on this tomorrow and see what we come up with. I'm gonna go home for now. Scotch-Brighted it all off, and then I put a good heavy coat just on the braces, not on the flat part, but just on the structured parts. And it lightened it up quite a bit. That gets us closer to the right color. I think now maybe if I let this set and get dry and then Scotch-Brite it off, it's probably as close as I'm going to get without having the right color paint, you know. But I don't know. What do you say? You know, I mean, it's going to be fine on the underside of a trunk lid, but I might have to come up with a better plan to do that roll pan and stuff. If I sprayed that over gray primer, it might go on lighter, and then I could Scotch-Brite it off and then get my black patina back by putting a little black on the top of the green and then trying to get that to fade in maybe. But I don't know. We'll just keep experimenting, figure something out. I went ahead and I clear coated around this lip. So when I come back here tomorrow, I should be able to glue that seal on. Hey guys, back over here today. I took a DA sander to the top side of the trunk lid. It was heavily pitted and wasn't much paint showing on that. I got it down pretty smooth. And this trunk lid's really smooth. It's not in bad shape at all on the outside, you know. I think that's as far as I'm going to take it for now because I just wanted to get a little more blue paint showing. I didn't know what my lip would look like out here, you know, after doing all that welding. It ain't too bad. It's about what I expected. I'm going to have to take a little fiberglass. I'm going to thin it out, thin Duraglass, thin it out with some resin and get all that bare metal covered up and then just sand it off a little bit. Probably do it after it's on the car. There might be some straightening to do there. You can see a little warble right here, and I'll just try to get that as straight as I can. But I'm gonna try to put that weather seal on, I think. I'm a little bit scared to do it because I feel like there could be clearance issues, because when I had it on there the first time, I couldn't get the trunk lid to shut. It was binding up on the top somewhere up by the hinges, and I'm hoping it was just because the corners weren't on all the way, and maybe the whole thing had kind of walked off on me, you know, and it just wasn't in place. So I'm gonna get it glued on there good with the super glue. If it still don't work, it just don't work, you know. I mean, it's all I can do. But I've got that all painted around there now, so we're gonna be gluing the weather strip to paint, and I'm gonna do one more little experiment here just to kind of see how much working time I got with the super glue, because if that super glue grabs too fast, I might get in a situation where I'm gluing my lip shut and then I just got a mess and I can't get it open back up without ripping it or something, you know. So I think what I would like to try here, this is that Loctite super glue. Seems to work well. It says rubber, metal. I'm gonna put a drop right here on this painted surface. It pretty much starts grabbing instantly. Ooh, this might be hard. try doing an inch at a time, I guess. That's all we can try. See what happens here, guys. Going through this groove now and trying to clean all the yellow weather strip adhesive off of it. What I'm noticing here is there's not much on it. It's like that adhesive stuck to the metal better than it did to rubber. I got some stuck on the outside here where it shouldn't be. If I look on the inside, spreading the groove apart, it's pretty clean. It's like when I pulled that off, all of it stayed on the car. I found this lip was bent out a little bit right here by this hinge. I took a hammer and I got it pushed back in this way. Maybe that was causing some of my clearance issues. Those hinges come up so tight, you don't have much room for the rubber. So that was out, you know, 1/8 of an inch probably. I got this halfway on. My corners are holding good. See, it just barely clears, but it does clear. It's before, I'm not sure. I don't think my glue was holding it on quite all the way, and it wasn't clearing up there. So we'll continue on here. I got to do about 3 inches at a time because the glue sets up real fast. A guy could really get himself in trouble trying to do a long stretch of that. I'll keep going here, guys. About a half an hour later, I got this all glued on there, and this corner here went great. It's in there good and tight. It's glued very well. I got up this side, I got to this corner, it went on great. It's in there good and tight. I've got clearance on this hinge, it barely misses. This all went good. This corner went in good and tight. I was able to take super glue and glue it together where my seam was. This here all went pretty good. This corner here, it popped off on me and the glue already had it stuck. I couldn't get it pulled back off and repositioned. That hinge rubs a little bit. This is really the only spot that didn't go on good, but it's glued good. I think I'm gonna test fit the lid on there and see if it clears everything. If I find I have an issue, maybe I can slit this with a knife and pry the lip apart and get it on there better and glue it back together or something. If it clears everything, I might just leave it because I don't think it'd come off. But I think that is on all the way, you know, with the exception of that. So if I can't make this work this time, I'm going to assume that weather seal just does not work on this car. But let me see if I can bolt that back on there and try it. I still had the broken screws in this latch to contend with. I just hit them with a little PB blaster and they're screwing right out with vice grips. That's the first win I've had on broken bolts, I'll tell you that. Hey, how about that? Just hit the end of that with a wire wheel a little bit. That all cleaned up good. This is the second latch out of the second trunk. It was far better than the one that was in here. I got this stuck back on there. This seal, it went on this time with no clearance issues whatsoever. There might be a little bit of adjustment to do, but I'd say that gap's pretty good. This gap here has got to get worked on a little bit because of the work that's been performed down there. But listen to this. That's like shutting the trunk on a new car. That's solid. Really liking that. That's what that looks like. I've never had a seal on there before. That was pretty much setting right down metal to metal before, and now it sets up on that seal. It looks weird to me, but maybe that's just the way it is. I don't know. Doesn't seem like there's anything I could do about it. It's the same on both sides. Maybe that's just how they look. I mean, I'm pretty flush up at the top. Fits nicely down to roll pan area. I don't know, I'm gonna call it good. I took a DA sander to the outside of this trunk lid earlier and got all of that heavy surface rust off that, a lot more of that blue paint showing. We'll just get some linseed oil on that and then see if we can kind of get that roll pan. It's not gonna match very well, but we gotta get some kind of paint on there. But let me show you this. I started scuffing this down with Scotch-Brite pads just because it matches better. A good representation of that is the hinge. The hinge is the original color and the trunk lid is not. So, I mean, it's not terrible, but it does blend in better if I take the shine off of it, which is what I'm gonna do. But what I wanted to show you, look where I haven't taken the shine off. What do you guys think of that color? That's really quite a nice color. I've always wondered what color I should paint this car eventually. That's actually quite nice looking. How would that look, this color, and then just have the, you know, the pearl white interior, you know? But I wanted to show you that before I scuffed it down completely. It's actually kind of nice. But yeah, with it scuffed down, that's gonna blend in fairly well. At least inside the trunk it will. Down here, yeah, you'll probably notice, but like I say, I gotta do something, so. And that latch mechanism's all back in place, except for these two screws. I didn't have any. I think they're 10/20s, maybe 3/16. I don't know. I'll have to find something for that. Prop rod's back on. I need one more bolt for it. That one I had to tap out to 5/16. I don't have a 5/16 bolt, all thread or short. But yeah, that's all back in. So the latch mechanism's all back in. I got the handle back on. I got the little springy thing resprung. It might need some final adjustment, but I think it's pretty well where it needs to be. Right now, no movement whatsoever. It's up good tight against the rubber seal. Opens right up. I mean, you can't get much better than that. And we went from, what was it, beginning of December, I think, into November, beginning of December. We went from having no floor in the trunk. And when I say no floor in the trunk, I mean no floor in the trunk. The lid had never latched, and even if you could have fixed the latch, there wasn't anything for the latch to hook to. So all of that got rebuilt. We got a new roll pan on back here, new body mounts, 4 of them. The back 2 that go through the trunk floor, and then the ones up in the center, all those have been fixed. So every one of the body mounts is back in the car solid now. This is basically as solid as it was when it was new. And yeah, I'm pretty happy with all of that. You know, it's not my goal here to show you how to do things perfect, but I can show you how to make things better. That's what I do. I just try to make things better. And I'm generally happy with that. I don't care about perfect. Never have. But I like to drive my cars, you know. I like to drive them. Anyway, guys, I think this is a pretty good place to end this video. Like I said, I got 2 days worth of cleaning to do out here. And not only am I going to clean this garage, I'm going to clean this car. Bondo dust is everywhere. And then we're going to move on to the next project, and I think it's going to be the windows and the doors. And I've got a plan to fix that damned India speedometer. And if I get it fixed, which I don't know if I will, but I got a plan now, and it's all thanks to Mark at Mark's Garage. If I can do what he done, I think I can fix it. He just made a great video of that, and it might be the only one on the internet, at least the only one I've seen, because last year when I started having all these speedometer problems, I was looking for videos like that, and I couldn't find any. So there's a lot of witchcraft and wizardry going on inside a speedometer. I had no idea, but yeah. Anyway, guys, I think that's going to do it for this video. This is a pretty good place to leave off, I'm thinking. I got to get 2 screws for here, and I got to get a little short all thread 5/16 bolt for there. We got some body work to do here at the roll pan and this lip, but I'm going to walk away from that for right now, as long as it's done before we pull it out of the garage. I want to move on to something else, you know. But very happy with that. Thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate all of you. Thanks for following along, subscribing, liking, sharing, all them wonderful things. Love your comments, and we'll catch you on the next one. Later, Jeremy.